Hi everybody. It's always interesting to be the icebreaker and the microphone tester, so let's hope this goes okay. But then again, this talk is about a first and about a few other things as well. In March this year, I set out and embarked on what some will call a microadventure. And what I aimed to do was to summit the the 9 provincial high points of South Africa in less than 9 days and with 9 different backpacks, just as an add-on. And you'll see on the slide the 9 points in relation to each other. And one of the things I realized when I did this trip was how massively amazing our country really is, but also how vast it is. And the reason why this came about, so I met a very nice couple a couple of years ago, and they were telling me how they were summiting and bagging the 9 provincial high points over a long period of time, and how much fun they had doing it. And it intrigued me, and I thought, those are boxes that I definitely want to tick at some stage in my life. And it was just fun. It just turned out to be slightly different a few years later. It took a couple of years to make it happen, and as you know, life tends to get in the way. And I think the most important thing is that I never lost sight of that goal, and that was very important. And so there are many other smaller and bigger goals as well, and I'm going to expand a little bit on that. And I'm sure everyone here has got their own goals. And I think sometimes it's not the goal that's the main thing, it's actually getting down to doing it. And something that I realized is, I meet people very often, and they say to me, we never get an opportunity for any adventure, and their excuses include, we don't have the time, or we don't have the finances, etc., etc. Well, the reality is neither do I, because most people see adventure as something big, something big that you have to do, somewhere in a far-off country. It needs to take you a long time, it needs to cost you a lot of money, like going to the Himalayas, or even climbing Kilimanjaro, which is a challenge for most people, or doing something, whatever might interest them. And the reality is that is not the main thing. It's important to have these big dreams, and obviously to work towards them. But the reality is that not all of us are going to walk to the South Pole unsupported. I mean, if it was that easy, there would be a highway built there already. And the thing is, we all have a sense of adventure. And I don't think it's always the big dream that's important. It's what you do in the meantime that gets you there. And that's very important. I believe adventure is a state of mind. And I believe adventure is something that stretches you mentally, physically, or even culturally. And if that is all correct, and if you all agree with me on that, then that means that adventure is really all around us. And the 9 Peaks Challenge has been done once before, as far as I know, by a group of people, and I met some of them. In my case, I was on my own. They had people driving them from one province to the other, but again, I was on my own for some reason. They had logistical and safety support and things, but I found myself kind of alone. And it was fun. It was fun, but it made it different. Very little sleep is something you tend to get used to quite quickly. You drive from one province to the other. You summit the peak, you get back down, and you carry on. And you do get quite exhausted, which is all good. It's all part of the fun. But you just kind of carry on. You look up, you man up, and you get the business done. Proper planning is very important. And what do you take with? How do you get from A to B? Those type of things. And my planning was quite interesting because I was on my own, so I could take whatever I want, and I used my car, so I had enough space. Accommodation varied from whatever guest house I could find 4 o'clock in the morning when I got off some freaky mountain to my tent providing me with good old accommodation. But the planning became really, really good fun when it got to planning routes, because South Africa is an interesting country. We're well developed in certain parts and underdeveloped in other parts. And nowadays we're blessed with some amazing technology. Now we're blessed with Google Earth, which is free. And you have to be flexible though in your planning. You have to adjust and adapt if curveballs get thrown your way. And I had a lot of those. I had my spare tire stolen. I had my bumper ripped off by an idiot driver. I was sick for it. Really, really sick. But you carry on. And as you guys realize, as many of you will know, you cross these mountains in South Africa, and some of our mountains are really, really big challenges. When you're chasing time, it makes it so much more interesting. But planning the routes meant spending hours on Google Earth, looking at all these options, getting in touch with the landowners, which took a lot of research, a lot of phone calls, but they were all extremely supportive. And I think the planning was more fun than the actual trip, to be quite honest with you. Fortunately, many of these peaks are also quite easy to find because in South Africa we have this tendency to stick radio masts and things on top of high points for some reason. By the end of the trip, I traveled about 3,000 kilometers by car and about 170 to 180 kilometers on foot. I still haven't quite figured that one out. Over terrain from super easy to extremely hard. Since the completion of the trip, I've had 2 people contact me and say to me, we want to beat your record. And I said to them, well, please go and do it, because that's why it's there. And I said to them, yeah, take my information. It'll save you a lot of time and effort. I told them a few freaky stories about what really happened on the trip. And I said to them, if you want to break the record, you're going to obviously have to do it solo. I haven't heard from them since. But some of the things that happened is, like, for instance, you have a berg adder strike your boot, which is something that, if it happens, so what? But when you're on your own in the middle of nowhere, it matters. And there was a place in the Eastern Cape where I got tracked by dogs for about 4 hours in the dark, and I summited at 10 o'clock that night. And the policeman that afternoon told me a guy got killed by those dogs 8 months prior to that in that area. And it was really freaky, and we don't always see those things, but that makes it so much more interesting, and that's South Africa for you. I think the most important thing is that there was my employer, First Ascent, launched this range of backpacks, and that was part of the trip as well. But I think more important than that, for me, there were other reasons. I wanted to take on this challenge, and I wanted to do it for myself. I also wanted to be the first to do it. And I wanted to get out and explore my country on my terms. And as a result, we have a new record that other people can go and chase, and it's something I'm extremely proud of. And the final time was 8 days, 6 hours, and 52 minutes. And hopefully this will inspire other people. So final messages. Please go out, explore your country, do it on your own terms, within your own budget, and go and do whatever you feel like doing. Happy days.